Alright, welcome everybody to my Fyooz 3.0 unofficial proposal aiming to increase engagement, tokenomics, and value for the Fyooz project. Now, before I kick off with this proposal, I do want to give a shout out to the Fyooz team for everything that they have done and built to get the project to where it is right now. I definitely don't want to step on anybody's toes with the ideas that I'm putting forth here. It's all in goodwill and in the hopes of just sparking more creativity, more ideas in the community, and to help push this project further forward, because I see massive potential in what the team is doing here, and yeah, full respect to you guys for everything you've done. So on that note, let's kick this thing off. So my name is Chris Jacob. I just want to kick off with a bit of fundamentals on who I am. So I live in Australia. I have 2 kids, a wife and a mortgage. I'm very much your average sort of working class crypto investor, and I'm definitely not some sort of whale. In my day job, I work as a product owner, which is a role where I help a team to design and build software that customers love. And in the past, I've worked as a full stack web dev, working for some top advertising and digital agencies such as M&C Saatchi. And on the side, my passion has always been startups and marketing. I'm a member of the Moon Club and Circle. I wasn't lucky enough to get in on any of the pre-sale or the airdrops. I had to buy my way in. And as soon as I came into this project, I got super excited about it because I could see, how much room it had to grow, right? So I hit Twitter up and posted a whole bunch of Twitter threads around, meet the team, who's working with Fyooz, what are Fyooz's values, digging through sort of as much information as I could find on the project and sharing that with the public. And I've grown a bit of a reputation in the community as the rainbows and unicorns guy. And I think that's honestly because I've actually done my research on the project. It's a lot easy to fall into fear if the price goes down, if you haven't done that research and you don't have that sort of foundation of what it's taken to get the project to where it is and its vision for where it wants to go. So on that, I'll kick off by digging into the good parts of the project. So the project has an actual real working product in iOS, Android, and web app. And that's, it's not some kind of vaporware or something that's just smoke and mirrors, right? Which you get a lot of in crypto. It also has an experienced founding team and also a public team. It's not just a set of anonymous people. So Remo, Pippo, Alex, Tobias, check out the About page and their LinkedIn profiles and everything. They've got solid backgrounds to be running this project. On top of that, they're well connected with advisors such as Sam and Dre London. Some really interesting connections there within the music industry. Already working with some big names such as Posty and Yachty, West Coast Customs, Smitty. These people and the connections that they then have as well, it's really hard to get in there with celebrities and with stars, and they've made some really good sort of track record already in the ability to do that, which is impressive. In terms of holders, it's quite interesting to see that Metakoven, who bought for $69 million the Beeple Everyday's NFT, is a holder in terms of 1,000 Fyooz NFT. Moonshiller, who I really enjoy following on Twitter, as well as the Fyooz stars themselves. In terms of lockups, so the US-based Fyooz NFT stars and advisors, they can't sell for 12 months. The Fyooz star token celebrities, they have a linear 12-month vesting schedule. And the Fyooz founders, their wallets are fully locked for 2 years. So there's certainly no intention there, right, of a sort of snatch and grab sort of setup. They're in it for the long haul, which I really like to see. Press coverage, so yeah, they received a ton of media, right, particularly towards the start of the year, across Forbes, NASDAQ, even BitBoy calling it out as his February pick of the month. Which is good to see, right? They've made waves in the media, and they could certainly do it again. They're a Swiss-based company. They have a really good blog post article around how that is actually a competitive advantage for them. But in essence, right, the Swiss government and their culture, they're very finance and crypto friendly. You won't see the kind of regulation issues that you might find such as in India or China. They've also done, their legal work, right? They've got legal audits done by FINMA and BDO more recently, who is a massive accounting company that pulls in a cool, $10 billion in revenue every year. And they're a legally conscious project, right? So the Fyooz NFT token, there's a lot of misconception out there that it was just some sort of attempt to ride the NFT hype wave, but a lot of it was actually more around managing, regulation risk in particular in the US. And we see, for example, like the US residents, the warning that comes up in the marketplace. So they're doing everything right to not get caught out from a legal perspective, to do everything the right way, right, as a business, not just as some sort of hype crypto project, which is a solid foundation to work from. Their documentation, so I've mentioned the Fyooz wiki, their news articles, white paper, yellow paper, transparency report. I highly recommend people to go check these things out, in particular the wiki. It's really, really informative, and paints a really good picture of what this project is aiming to achieve. When it comes to investors, so they've got Moonrock Capital and DuckDao backing them, and those companies and investors themselves having plenty of crypto connections and experience. They've already established the Fyooz Circle, which is used for governance and for benefits, and it's multi-tiered, which I really like. And they've got the Fyooz NFT Moon Club, right, with this niche around experience NFTs. They sort of coined that as their marketing edge. And I also really enjoy the scarcity of the fact that, with a million coins, and holding 1,000 coins getting you into the Moon Club, there could only ever be 1,000 max members of the Moon Club. They already have an established community and airdrops through Telegram and Collabland. In their marketplace, they have 0 fees. If you actually do just one transaction per hour, they cover the fees for you, which I think is quite a unique angle in the crypto space, particularly with people obviously hating gas fees and everything else. It's a really nice feature. On top of that, you can actually buy the star tokens in the marketplace with a credit card, and those transactions are converted from fiat into FYZ and then into the star token purchase. And I really enjoy that pipeline and what it could mean for the Fyooz token. In terms of market cap and liquidity, both are super low right now, and while we want to obviously get high liquidity moving forward, it puts us in a position where we are primed for a fast upward movement. If there was significant hype that hit the media around this project, and people were willing to sort of overlook the slippage, we could definitely move quickly, right? And speaking of things coming up, so there's the Posty auction version 3.0 still to come up. Cars NFTs being dropped to the Moon Club and airdrops to the jury. The cars, the rocket, a real car as a prize, which is pretty insane. The Mario Kart auction for cars. Smitty's token launch and NFTs, and Yachty's one night NFT promotion, which dropped quite recently. So there's a lot to look forward to, and a lot that could be picked up and be big in the media, which is exciting, right? And we don't know what else they're cooking up behind the scenes. Look, and there's also plenty of similar projects to look at, such as Chili's, right? There's people who are 10, 100, and even up to 1,000 times our market cap, that show where social tokens and NFT projects can get to, right? We're potentially hugely undervalued. And when it comes to NFTs, right, there's hype cycles in the crypto market. And it certainly feels like there could be another massive NFT cycle to come before the end of the year for sure. Even looking at Gary V's recent VFriends NFT project that he kicked off, right? That Discord group got over 100,000 members in less than a week, right? NFTs are really just starting. And then at the same time, you see headlines like this, on NASDAQ just last month, saying like social tokens get ready for the next massive crypto trend, right? There could certainly be like this movement from DeFi into NFTs, and then the next trend could very well be social tokens. And Fyooz is really well positioned in both, NFTs and social tokens. So it could be a massively winning combination, right? So those are some like the really good parts of the project that I think solid foundations there, right? But with this proposal, I've got to dig in also to the parts that I feel are problems, right? These are the problems that I want to address, or ideas to help improve things with this proposal. So when it comes to the bad parts, one of the biggest ones is the Fyooz, star token marketplace is a bit of a ghost town, right? There's very little to no sort of buyer and seller activity in that marketplace right now, and they've got to find ways to change that. Also, the star tokens and FYZ and FYZNFT, there's this sort of competition inside of the community where they see these different tokens competing with one another, right, for attention. People that bought one and don't have the other, they only care about theirs, and they're not seeing it as like this ecosystem where each feeds the other, right? They need to find ways to sort of make that relationship tighter, and for people to like be excited about the movement for each of those different areas of the project. Because that's exactly how it should be. It should be an ecosystem that feeds one another, that feeds the growth, and propels each other forward. Also, Uniswap, to get into the project, the friction for people in the mass market to go through getting set up with Uniswap, the Ethereum gas fees that come with that transaction, and also that we're not yet on any top 10 exchanges, which from a positive perspective, when we get listed, it should be a good bump for the price, but in terms of ease of adoption, not being in those exchanges does hurt us at the moment until we get in there. Also, the 1,000 Fyooz NFT Moon Club, that requirement to sort of get that benefit from Fyooz NFT, that's a really high bar. Depending on the price of the token, it starts to get to the point where it sort of limits us from growth potentially, right? Because people just can't get in. So having that bar set really high, it lowers the quantity of holders that we have. It reduces the size of our community, and therefore I feel it reduces the volume as well. The Post Malone auction, so that event has been cancelled twice. I felt it was poorly communicated throughout the community to understand what was going on. Also, the launch hype, it was quite lacking. The last one was like a real shock that it came around super quick, and we really didn't know what to do about that. And in general, it seems like the project is really dependent on these big bang events instead of a more sustainable growth sort of model wrapping around it. You want those big bangs, but you need something sustainable, right, to carry it through the times when people are just like, what value am I getting right now? And how long do I have to wait to get something else? You want something more consistent. Community management, so rules and guidelines. There were some introduced recently to the Telegram groups, which was great to see, but it's also quite difficult to find. The core team, they're not as engaged as I'd like to see them in the community. I know they're very busy, but I really want to see them getting a bit more engaged with more AMAs, for example. Also, there's sort of limited community admins. Banana Bob does a great job, but we could use more people in there. Also, there's no public roadmap right now, so people aren't clear really where the project is going. In terms of onboarding into the project, I feel like it lacks an element of stickiness to it. There's a lot of repetitive questions that come up, and people aren't sure where to find the answers to those things. And there's no capturing of people's email addresses along the way when they're coming into the project. The stars, at times, we've seen the stars not actively promoting their star tokens and potentially even like some of their NFT drops. we've seen just recently, like Little Yachty's doing a good job. He's got onto BitBoy and promoted his one night promotion. But in general, like in the marketplace, a lot of the stars aren't doing much really to promote this project. The star tokens, their benefits, right? They lack consistency across the board. Like one star will have one kind of benefit and another one has another. There's no sort of consistent value, consistent thing you can expect from each different star. They're also confusing to claim, understanding how to actually claim those benefits. I also don't see merchandise as a particularly strong benefit, since it feels like the kind of thing you could just buy with fiat. And not a particularly strong reason to buy and to hold, and that's why we will see with some of the star token launches like quite a pump and a dump sort of activity play out instead of a lot more holding. And around that, I think the part of the reason for that sort of pump and dump activity is that we need to remember, like with star tokens and Fyooz NFT, right? They're utility tokens. And there's a big difference between like a security versus a utility token. And security tokens, they're created as an investment, right? Where the buyer of the security token, they do so with this like expectation of profit. But unlike those security tokens, utility tokens, they're not used as an investment. They're bought to be used. Like they have functionality baked into their core. And right now I feel like currently the project has too much focus on these tokens as an investment, where instead I feel we should actually be focused on the exclusive benefits that you get by holding the token. So it's this difference between like the tagline they currently have, which is invest in what you love, versus the alternative, which is like connecting with what you love. And on that, right, think about a bear market. So coins that are like heavily investment focused, they're going to fall hard when the market dips down, right? Because people are just thinking about the monetary value of it. But if it came to a coin, right, with some real functionality and utility to it, like a closer connection to a star that you idolize, that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of utility that can sustain value regardless of what the market is doing. It's moving up, it's moving down. You're holding it because you're getting something from it that is more than just monetary. It's something that you cherish, right? That's the idea. And so that leads me into my proposal, right, where all of this is leading, right? The good and the bad. So where to next? So for what I've seen, right, Fyooz 1.0 was all about getting the product to where it is today, right? You had to get all of that initial investment and product launch, getting out what they've got out already. The Fyooz coin, the star tokens, and the Yachty promotion, which was, a massive kickoff for the project. Really sort of spiked up, got heaps of attention, which is fantastic. And then Fyooz 2.0 came around, right? This is the cycle that we're in right now, where we've got Fyooz NFT with the Moon Club, Fyooz Circle, the post Malone auction still to come, and the cars launch, right? That relationship with West Coast Customs, which is really interesting. So that's where we stand right now. But what is next for Fyooz? What could Fyooz 3.0 look like? And without a roadmap right now, that led me to sort of speculate and sort of think, what do I think the project could do in terms of positioning themselves in the market, potentially pivoting. If some areas are not working, you got to look at what you've built and potentially shifting a bit, right? And going at a bit of a new direction that might have more potential. And so around that, the biggest idea that I've had is that I think Fyooz should become the social network for super fans. And I'm just going to let that sit for a sec because I absolutely love that GIF. All right, so the social network for Supermans, the social network for super fans. So what do I mean by that? Like, what is that, and why why do I think that that could be a thing, right, in the marketplace? Why do I think people would grab onto that idea, right, and see that as valuable? Like, what problem does it solve? So for stars and for their fans, right, I feel that social media is actually broken right now. Like, if you can imagine yourself having 1 million+ followers, social media, it's no longer social, right? It's just media at that point. And that's because social just doesn't scale, right? You can't have 1 million people following you and having an actual relationship with that many people at the same time, right? You just can't communicate at a level where it has a meaningful kind of interaction. It's very one-sided, right? It's like having a conversation with your television. You're just pushing media out, and it's really broken that social aspect of it. And around that, right, stars, they're competing against algorithms on these platforms. Like Facebook's organic reach is down to something like 6% or something even lower. Right, they're just fighting against, they might have a massive audience, but they're really not reaching that many people of that audience. And stacking on top of that, there's just increasing competition for their fans' attention. It's harder to get their attention in a space where everybody's vying for their attention. And on the flip side of that, you have their fans, right? And they're tired of this sort of relentless advertising being pushed down their throat from these media platforms, because that's how they monetize. And they're also craving, their favorite stars' attention. They'll comment out on their posts, but they often don't get anything back because, there's just too much for the star to handle all of that, all of those people, right? And from looking through the Fyooz wiki and articles, right, there's this bit of a gem, I feel like, within Fyooz's purpose. And one of their purposes was to become a marketplace for attention. Instead of just the investment side of it, right, just like tokenizing attention and building this whole ecosystem around a marketplace for attention. And that's what these two sides are craving, right, in different ways and for different reasons. For both like the stars and for the fans, right? Like having, for example, like this kid in this picture here, right? Absolutely idolizing, this might be his favorite hockey player. And like having any kind of like closer relationship to that person would just be massive for him. And likewise, right, for the star, they feed off that energy of their fans. It holds them up. It makes them, want to do better and be better, and it really energizes them. But if social media is this problem, and the volume of people, right, is a problem, like how do you actually solve that? How could Fyooz solve that? I believe that comes with levels of access and levels of engagement and levels of interaction, right, between the stars and their fans. And to do that, what you need to do is you need to have some form of segmentation, right? You need to be able to take your massive audience of free followers and you need to segment them down into, paid super fans, right? It's a smaller subset of the bigger audience. And because it's smaller, you can do things that don't scale, right? Have closer relationships. So will that concept work? Like, will people actually pay for content, pay for connection? So you can take a look at OnlyFans, right? They're a social network for paid exclusive content. They have 1 million+ content creators on the platform already, with 8,000 new creators coming onto the platform per day. They have 50 million registered users, and 500,000 new users signing up per day, which is just an insane amount of user acquisition, right, and growth. That's phenomenal. And more so, right, the financial model works. So they've paid out over $2 billion to the creators on the platform, and all the while, right, OnlyFans is taking a 20% cut of that financial transaction, so a cool 400 mil. But what I find really interesting is on that platform, the top 1% of the accounts, they make 33% of the money, 33% of that 2 billion plus, right? It's this sort of this upper level, right, that gets the vast majority of the attention, and I know the money at the end of the day. It's that small percentage that really pulls people in. And on top of that, right, why else do I think like the social network for superfans is like this idea that could really work? You can't forget that whales just love social, right? Like if you look in the startup space and investment space, anything that's sort of connected to what may be the next social network of the internet, whales love that because they all want to find the next Facebook, the next Twitter, the next Instagram. It's in their best interests. And you can see that even recently, right, with Clubhouse. They had a round of investment that valued them at $4 billion, which is nuts. All right, so the social network for superfans, right? That's great as an idea and as a proposal, but like, what would it actually take? Like, what are the changes they would need to do to actually implement that kind of direction, right, for the business for Fyooz 3.0? What would need to change to get us there? So around that, the first one, one of the sort of hardest ones but important ones, is the stars themselves. So I don't think that Fyooz should actually try and compete with the creator coins that are out there, the OnlyFans and the Patreon. They've got a whole model around sort of self-service to get set up, and anybody can have a coin, right? Anybody can have a coin, and they do what they want with it, and you get a high volume of people, but quite a low success rate. Instead, what I think Fyooz should do is I think that they should focus very specifically on that 1%, right? That 1%, say from OnlyFans, that made 33% of the income, that 1%, of attention that's across all kinds of media. That's the kinds of people that they should have as stars on the platform. And in doing so, that would make Fyooz' unique selling proposition superstars. So superstars would be people that have 1 million plus followers on social. And that would be like the line in the sand that really like pretty much the platform is just for those people. But very occasionally, I still think there is value in talent scouting for rising stars. And those would be the stars that are on the path to that 1 million follower sort of level with a really engaged audience. And you could see that they're definitely on their way there. And it's worth building a relationship with someone like that early enough in the process. So when they blow up and become something even bigger, you're a part of that. It's definitely not worth ignoring that, but for the vast majority, focused on those people that are already at that level. And that means, celebrities and sports stars and all those other people that, are idolized. With that, it means, removing the creators, removing the people that have less than 1 million followers. And as I said, that, makes Fyooz this kind of exclusive club, this exclusive network. It's not for everyone. It's hard to exclude people, but in doing so, you position yourself more firmly as, something that is different from everyone else. And that would mean phasing out a lot of the current star listings in the Fyooz marketplace. It's an unfortunate, sort of psychological, social sort of dynamic that, if you're an A-list celebrity, you can't, be in B-list and C-list and D-list circles. If you have a feature film that's, AAA sort of massive budget, you can't go do like a TV series as your follow-up. And that's a hard thing for me to, to put out there, because I'm sure the Fyooz team, they've probably built relationships with these people that they brought onto their platform early, right? A lot of these more sort of creative folks. But on the flip side of that, the stars themselves, as I've said, like they're not really actively promoting Fyooz, and their star tokens, they don't have activity on them. right? So in some way, I don't know, like they're not losing out on too much because the model just isn't working too well at the moment. And they've got a lot more competition in that creator coin sort of space. But then you're probably thinking, okay, so we wipe out a vast majority of the people listed on the marketplace and we're left with like very few listings. That doesn't seem right. Well, no, I don't think that we should have just like an empty, basically empty marketplace. That would be silly. Instead, right, I feel the team should actually pre-fill the marketplace with all of the superstars, right? It's not too hard to find out who has followings of over a million people across social. You could easily find that out, build up a massive list of who all those people are, and pre-fill them into the marketplace. Now, you're probably thinking, hey, that looks a bit like what BitClout did. Definitely don't do a BitClout. So don't, sell coins before anyone's even agreed to be on your marketplace. Don't fake the market. Don't do anything dodgy like that, right? Instead, right, use this pre-listing as a way to paint a picture of the future marketplace, of who it is for, who's on that marketplace. Use it as a means of measuring demand for the stars, a way to actually accelerate the star acquisition, where they can see exactly what it looks like for them to be on this platform. They don't even need to visualize it in their head; they can actually see it. And use this as a means of fueling the social growth for the platform. So, for example, right, you could vote for the stars that you really want to see come onto the platform. You could tweet or do other forms of sharing from whatever page lists the star on it, to try and get their attention on social media. It's hard to get the attention of these celebrities, right? But with enough people pushing from this pre-listing page, it could certainly get on their radar. And we could even go as far as like staking your Fyooz coins for the stars, like putting your money where your mouth is, and you could gain some benefit from that, like some kind of pre-listing token that maybe you could spend on any star listing that launches on the platform, or maybe just for that star. But either way, like you could invest your money in there and say like, I really want this person to come on the platform, and then the Fyooz core team could reach out to these stars who have the most sort of votes or shares or staking happening, and being like, look, there's clearly demand on our network for you to come over here. Let's have a business conversation and let's make this happen. I think also I should clarify, right, like all this sort of pre-listed stars, you definitely want a way that clearly distinguishes them and can filter them out from the people who actually have a legitimate listing. And you still want lots of attention for the people that have a legitimate listing in the marketplace. And make it clear the separation, but also make it integrated enough that you could see what this marketplace can become, and other people can see exactly what it'd be like to be in the marketplace. All right, cool. So we've got a fully populated marketplace at this point. But scarcity is the next point. A super important psychological sort of aspect in crypto and marketing in general, right? It's the FOMO. It's the thing that sort of people go, oof, I got to get in now before I miss out. There's not the rarity, right? Things like that. So I really like the Fyooz NFT and the Moon Club model. And I think that we should do something similar for star tokens. I think star tokens right now they're listed with different amounts of max supply. I think there should be more consistency there and just make it that everybody has 1 million coins max supply. For holding 1,000 of those coins to give you a special status similar to Moon Club status, but in this case it would be called Superfan as your status, or something similar, but I like Superfan. And in doing so, right, with 1 million coin supply and the need to hold 1,000 tokens, it means there could only ever be 1,000 max superfans, ever. And somebody that has 1 million plus followers, that's like less than 0.1% of their audience. But to make it even more scarce, right, launch with 100K circulating supply. Like have everyone launch with the same conditions, 100k circulating supply. And in that case, right, it's reduced even further. So there can only be a max of 100 super fans on day one. And in reality, it's going to be much lower than that. Even at that number, it's 0.01% of their million plus followers. But it would be reduced even more because I really think that having a strong pre-sale and airdrop mechanic, I think that's a really good aspect for the Fyooz project. And a real benefit, right, of being in the circle and the jury and the Hall of Fame and the Moon Club and potentially like staking for stars. That off the bat, right, reduces the supply as well. It gets, people that have been loyal to the project in early with the stars. And there's, even less and less than that max of 100 superfan positions available. People might buy, 5,000, and that's suddenly taken up 5 of those superfan positions. So it becomes the real scarcity around getting into the higher levels. On top of that, right, these stars themselves, they're going to be wondering, like, what's in it for me to be on this platform? Like having the connection and the relationship with my audience and having the ability to sort of to feed from that is great, but there's always got to be some kind of financial incentive as well in general. And so from that perspective, right, the star at launch, they're still holding on to 900,000 tokens, right? And I think that becomes a relatively sort of easy sell potentially of like what, how much value holding that could have for them based on how sort of engaged and involved they are with the community and this network that they're building up, right? They could see that they could potentially be sitting on a gold mine. But you definitely don't want someone sitting on a gold mine to dump on that community, right, and destroy their own token and do some sort of cash grab. And so there needs to be a level of trust. And to establish that trust, I think having something whereby, for example, the jury, that they vote on anything that's like a 10k or more sort of unlock for a star token, that provides this middleman and trust in the community, that while the star holds a very large portion of the tokens, that it needs to go through this governance process to actually unlock it, and unlocking it in small amounts again. So there's this scarcity of like, oof, I've got to get in there and get some tokens when this drop comes, because who knows when the next one's coming, and there's only a small amount, and people rush to grab it and buy it. All right. So next up is levels. So I think that we should keep the levels quite simple and straightforward, and a clear sort of hierarchy to them. And most importantly, right, is like this very first level, which is holding a single token. And then from there, the next level up, holding 10, up to holding 100, and then finally the big goal of holding 1,000 of a coin token. I think that that's just smart and simple and consistent, and that should be done across all of the coins, right? Your stars, Fyooz NFT. So for stars, you would have 3 levels of bronze, silver, and gold. So that's 1 coin, 10 coins, 100 coins, and 1,000, with superfan being the highest level. For Fyooz, bronze, silver, and gold, and then into the club. And Fyooz NFT, bronze, silver, gold, and the Moon Club. And so each of these has consistency across them. Still, yes, keeping the jury and the Hall of Fame levels for Fyooz, because they already serve their purpose in the whole governance process, so I don't think we should get rid of that. But why these sort of levels? And I've already hinted at it, but it's really the power of one, right? That one token purchase is the key, really. And in marketing, it's referred to as like a tripwire funnel. And a tripwire funnel, it's a super powerful strategy that converts cold traffic into big spenders within minutes. That's kind of super hypey. The more simple way of explaining it, right, is that it's a low ticket offer that you make to an audience with an offer that they truly can't refuse, where they weigh up like here's the cost I'm putting in, a few dollars kind of thing, versus what they get back for that small purchase, like just vastly sort of outweighs what they put down financially. And they're just like, it's just a no-brainer for them. And this concept, right, of them making a super sort of small purchase to begin with, during that purchase process, you have the opportunity, right, to upsell them and downsell them during that purchase moment. But at the same time, from there, you've got a customer, and you can further upsell them in the future. You've got that foot in the door with them, the ability to communicate with them, and for them to purchase more in the future. It's a very common sort of sales method where you're building them up through this value ladder. Where they start down potentially at the lowest level, and they just want to keep getting up higher and higher, up that value ladder from 1 all the way up to 1,000, from bronze to silver to gold. And as they move along these levels, right, they get just increasing levels of access and engagement and interaction with the star. And in doing so, in lowering that bar, we will significantly increase the number of holders within this project, and quantity of holders, and the network effects that has, more people to sort of rally behind Fyooz, can have a huge impact on the growth trajectory of the project. But what we need to remember, right, is that these more holders that we're trying to get, a lot of them are the mass market holders, right? They're not necessarily the sort of crypto veterans. These celebrities and these stars, their audiences, could be very unfamiliar or very new to crypto, and so because of that, we need to make the buying process significantly easier. And at the same time, if we can increase the conversion rates and increase the average cart value, like how much they're buying, then that's obviously a massive benefit. And to do that, I think that we should actually leverage the existing credit card purchase functionality that the team's already built in the website and in the app. And in doing so, right, having these star tokens purchased with a credit card, which they can do in 134 countries already, and they can do it without any of those sort of barriers of like KYC checks or any money laundering checks that you need to do on exchanges. In doing so, we're like reducing that sort of friction to making that initial purchase. And at the same time, right, the website and the app, that's a space that the team has full control over, to sort of have the analytics and other things in there, and to make those sort of optimizations, to A/B test certain things, and they have that control of the purchasing process. And it's the lowest friction potentially, right? People don't need to go out and understand what an exchange is. They don't need to know about Uniswap and how to do any sort of transactions with that. They don't need to get scared by the gas prices. They don't need to worry about setting up a wallet, because in the app, it creates a wallet for them in the Fyooz app. All of these things are things that we can educate the mass market on at a later point in time, once we have the ability to communicate with them because they've made a purchase from Fyooz. And around this, right, I feel like there should be a custom landing page for every star. It's actually more of a sales funnel than just a landing page. Now it can be still, built off the same template, right, for all of the stars. You don't have to build everything super custom, but like it's someone comes in from social media, and it focuses in on that star and why you want to buy that token and what you get for it for holding that star token, and just builds up all of the desire to sort of buy it, right, without any of the distractions of the rest of the marketplace. It gives them everything they need to make their purchase decision, and to increase that sort of conversion rate. Yeah, it's all about optimizing conversions, having the ability to do upsells, and to onboard these people into Fyooz. And the other big benefit, right, of putting them through this avenue instead of sending them, to Uniswap and exchanges, one really big part of it is you can capture their email address at checkout, right? And when it comes to email, like there's a very common saying, which is the money is in the list, right? This ability to communicate with people one-to-one is huge, right? You can build an automated email campaign that does the onboarding, right? Does the indoctrination into getting them and their belief and their sort of connection to this project. And yeah, educating them on crypto, on Fyooz, on the star tokens, promoting new launches to them, a whole bunch of things, like understanding the difference between the different tokens. There's so much you can do once you have a communication channel with your customers. And around this, right, like Fyooz could make themselves like the number one gateway for the mass market into crypto investing. And if you check out their wiki, like that is actually something that's really significant and important to the Fyooz team, is to sort of democratize and to make more fair like the whole world of investment. To get people knowledgeable about this, but to do it, I really think you need to simplify and make as easy as possible their first steps into the space. So yeah. So I haven't really addressed it yet, but like, what do you get for holding one star token, right? What is that incentive and that carrot and that just irresistible thing that these fans of these stars, what do they want, right? And I think the incentive should be a private and intimate and exclusive Discord community with the star in it, right? It's a place that they hang out, and you can communicate with them, like actually chat with them, have hangouts in there. You get to have this private space, right, outside of all the noise of social media and everything. This is a place you can go where they will be from time to time to connect with them, and it's it's a space just for a limited amount of people. So with every star, right, they would have their own independent Discord server. In a way, would actually be decentralizing social, right? Each of them has their independent server, their independent space. There's not, any advertising and other stuff going on there. It's just all about that star and their community. But what we would also have is Fyooz being a central hub of that network. It's kind of like a hub and spoke model where Fyooz sits at the middle, can sort of feed into it, sort of announcements and things from those Star's own Discord servers, and be sort of a meeting ground for all kinds of activity. But they also sit independent. But doing this strategy, right, community is a hard thing to do, and to do it really well. But there's a very common saying that goes that community is everything in crypto. If you have a strong community, right, they rally around your project, they push your project forward. They make the most noise in the media and the markets and everything. They champion your project, right? When you're doing community right, you're doing it wrong, it can go the opposite direction. Now, in this space, Fyooz, they definitely, as a business, right, they need to level up their community game. And definitely, if they're going to make it like one of their core values and their core value propositions, if it's going to be community, then they have work to do. And around that, if they went with this, I think it would be quite important to bring in experts. And it's a particular company that I really like called Feverbee. I've read lots of their content. There's plenty of free content that they publish, and it's really good around building communities. And they've got a great track record and a great sort of list of clientele of 200 plus big brand names, right, that they've helped to build communities for. And pulled from their website, right, like they can help you develop your community strategy, manage your community, actually hiring them to manage your community. They can train up your staff, like the Fyooz staff, and ultimately they could help Fyooz to build a world-class community experience. And that would be really quite important, right? Because these stars, they love their fans. They they need to protect their brand and protect their fans. And so what Fyooz needs to bring to the party is a level of professionalism, a level of experience and reputation. So by partnering with somebody that has a good reputation in that space already, it helps de-risk that relationship for the star, and give more trust to them to trust Fyooz, to be a partner in their relationship with their fans. And when it comes to community, right, you need the right platform, the right tool. And around that, I think that we should say goodbye to Telegram and say hello to Discord. Now, in the AMA, someone did bring up that dropping Telegram entirely wouldn't be the best idea. So on this slide, I would change it to take the moon and the circle, the jury, the Hall of Fame, the stars having their own Discord. Take all of it and move it to Discord, but still keep at least like one Telegram channel, like a public one for community, for people who want to reach out and have a conversation, right, to get to understand the project. Just because Telegram is so big in the crypto space, you still need that sort of entry, sort of foot in the door. But in general, right, driving people to these Discord servers as the central hub for Fyooz' sort of business and community. And the key reason for that is Discord is just significantly more powerful. The tooling that it provides, the functionality it provides, even just recently, like with me doing these presentations over on Discord, through its ability to do voice and video and screen sharing and everything, like that alone is a hugely powerful feature. And I set up the sort of whole Fyooz Labs Discord specifically to show off some of its functionality. It already has that tie-in with Collab Land to set roles for people and access to particular channels based on how much crypto they're holding. All of that is there. It's just a more powerful platform. Okay, so next, star NFTs. So again, I would love to see the ability to take this concept of like holding just one star token and one Fyooz NFT token at the absolute lowest level you possibly could, but then you have to jump through the hurdles to still like make that purchase of like the Fyooz NFT. Like if you get to that point, then you unlock something significant and important. And I think what that should be is monthly NFT drops for that artist to the people that hold their star token and a Fyooz NFT token, one or more. And what gets dropped in terms of NFTs is NFTs that focus on moments, on memories, on milestones for that star, things that have been significant in their career, right? Career or life, right? Things that matter to them, that would matter to their fans. So that could be like highly relevant based on like just the most recent month that's gone past. Say they had some massive concert, or maybe they had their first child was born, something like that mattered. That sort of memorable and significant moment from something recent, or you could dive back into the past, something that was a big deal in their career, or maybe some interesting like unique insight that people didn't really know, and they get that closer sort of insight through some NFT that comes out, right? And in doing this, like it sort of puts us in this sort of trading card kind of space, right? Like sports stars, they have their trading cards of things that happened to them in their career as they were a rookie and moving their way up. There's actually a really big project in the crypto space called like NBA Top Shot. They sell NFTs around significant plays that people have had in their NBA career, and they sell those NFTs, and they've done massively well, like hundreds of millions of dollars being sold on their NFTs. They raised 300 million plus recently in a round that valued them at like a $2 billion company. Like, they're doing very well on that concept. I've actually got a video of something that they use to promote, their NFTs on their website. This gives you a bit of a visual for like something that Fyooz could do. It's not going to be necessarily NBA, but try and imagine it in the context of various kinds of stars. Is going to be this sort of video clip of the thing that was significant for them, and some information around it, maybe even the star talking over the top of it. So let's take a look at what this looks like.
I'm Tyler Hero. Welcome to NBA Top Shot. I was just excited to have the ball in my hands, with the clock running down. I stepped back and seen that I had an open shot, and I let it fly, and thankfully it went in, and everything went well. I was just, in the heat of the moment. I was going at him, and it was towards the end of the game, so I was just being competitive and doing what I had to do to win the game.
Alright, cool. So with these star NFTs, again, having levels to them, right? So like a bronze, a silver, a gold, a rare, and then a 1 of 1 level for the monthly drops. If you held 1 star token and 1 Fyooz NFT, then you get guaranteed to get like 1 NFT card, like the bronze card that month. If you held 10 of the star token and one or more of the Fyooz NFT, then you get 2 NFTs, a bronze and a silver. And if you held 100 of the star token and 1 or more Fyooz NFT, then you get 3, the bronze, the silver, and the gold. And then finally, if you're at that superstar level with 1,000 star tokens and 1 or more Fyooz NFT, then you get the bronze, the silver, the gold, and the rare. So take, for example, a star that had 3,000 sort of holders of just 1 star token, and you had 1,000 people that held 10 star tokens, 200 people that held 100, and 5 people that were at that super fan level, right, of 1,000 tokens. The way that plays out would be, 4,205 bronze NFTs, 1,205 silvers, 205 golds, 5 rares, and there still being a single 1 of 1 NFT that month. So yeah, the higher up you are in the chain, you get the lower levels. So someone that's a super fan, they get those 5 rares, but they also got the bronze, the silver, and the gold, and so it gets increasingly more and more rarer and rarer as it goes up the chain. Now, I did have a sort of AMA, a bit of a chat with Pippo around this. He did point out to me that that might not actually be, financially doable from the cost perspective, I guess, of minting NFTs and distributing them. So just a little bit of a disclaimer on this idea. I don't know how viable it is, but maybe there's a way to do this that does financially balance out. But the idea here, right, is that providing just a lot of value every month to the holders. Now, with that design, if you held the star tokens and the Fyooz NFT, then you would be guaranteed the NFT drop. But I also think that it's important that for Fyooz NFT token holders, that they don't have to hold a star token necessarily to benefit, right? They're there for NFTs. They should have some benefit, but not have to, hold every single stars token. So around that, if you held 1 Fyooz NFT or more, then you get a chance to win up to 100 of the bronze cards that come out that month. If you held 10 or more Fyooz NFT, then you have the chance to win 10 of the silver cards. If you held 100 Fyooz NFT, a chance to win 1 of the gold cards. And if you held any Fyooz NFT, then you had a chance to win the 1 of the rare that gets minted. And around that with like winning any, holding any, your odds of winning the one rare, to have that increase by your level. So one Fyooz NFT gave you like one entry. Think of it like a giveaway dynamic, right? If you hold 10 Fyooz NFT, then you get 10 entries. If you hold 1,000, you get 1,000 entries. But if say you held like 500 Fyooz NFT, you would still only get 100 entries. Likewise, if you had with some giant whale with 7,000 Fyooz NFT, you'd still only get 1,000 entries. And this makes it sort of fair as you move up this sort of chain, up this sort of levels, and it sort of pulls people up from, say if you're sitting at holding 10 Fyooz NFT, you might want to spend that extra money to get up into that 100 Fyooz NFT holder level, the gold level, so that you had these higher odds, right, of getting these monthly drops. I also think this dynamic, right, of quantity of entries by the sort of level that you sit at, to use that for the other special event NFT drops. So we still definitely, on top of the monthly drops, still absolutely want to have those big sort of big bang kind of promotions that are targeted to get a lot of media attention. They're super sort of something unique and special that comes out. But using this sort of quantity of entries based on your level and drawing people up and up and up the level to get to 1,000 or more. Yeah, I think that's really important mechanic to put out there. Also, one thing to note, right, with what I just put forward before, if there happened to be no one that was at the gold level or the superfan level in terms of star holders in a particular month, or maybe someone was at that level but didn't have that additional requirement of holding one Fyooz NFT, then there would be no one at the gold or superfan level getting the gold or rare NFT. The only ones that would go out that month would be the ones that can be won by the Fyooz NFT holders. So that in that case actually become one of ones for that month. And speaking of one of ones, right? So exclusively for the Moon Club, I think they should exclusively get the chance to win the monthly one of one for that artist. So the Moon Club, right? They have the chance of winning, and the best chance of winning, 100 of the bronze, 10 of the silver, 1 gold, 1 rare, and that very exclusive one of one that comes out that month for that star. And you take that model, right, and you multiply that by many stars on the Fyooz platform, and you end up with a lot of NFTs being dropped every month, and therefore like a lot of value going out to the holders where they want to continue holding for that utility, for that benefit month to month to month. They don't want to let go of their tokens because they want to keep receiving that benefit. Now that benefit is only as good as the value of that NFT, right? How much that person values that NFT, how much the market values that NFT. So around that, those rarity levels, that already brings in a level of value. The less that there is of a certain NFT, the increasing value in general of that NFT. Also, you can find some way to maybe incorporate the star's signature, obviously something quite common in the sort of celebrity space, but maybe there's a way to do that uniquely for NFTs. The stars themselves promoting the NFTs, that lifts their value significantly, right? If the star makes a big deal out of the NFT that's come out, that endorsement brings with it more value for the NFT. Also, the fact that the NFTs are specifically like significant moments for those stars. The value in that, right? Unlike art, which is subjective, these things mean something to those stars, and it means something to those fans of them. It might be the moment that someone became a fan of that star, and that in itself carries significant weight. Also, like stamp these NFTs with like the year and the month, so there's this sort of collectability from that side, and also just the whole card kind of concept and the collectability of that. Like maybe you want to get a collection of all of the rares for a particular year, Or another example, right, is like infusing these NFT cards and combinations of them with particular special benefits. For example, holding 5 or more unique gold or rare cards then gains you access to some exclusive hangout or something exclusive that gives you that higher sort of access to the star. Maybe there's going to be some concert on and you get some VIP pass if you happen to be a holder of this particular NFTs and combination of NFTs, which could then bring in a significant sort of aftermarket value for the NFTs that you've received. So next I want to address like star contracts. We don't know like the business negotiations and the business deals that are being done, and it's easy for me maybe to say some things in this next part and harder to implement. But I think it's some important things, some like ground rules that need to be sort of made with the stars so that the relationship on both sides is beneficial. So the first, I think the contracts need to stipulate that the stars must do a social post for every monthly drop, every monthly NFT drop that they have, right? They need to promote it. And because the NFTs themselves are like sentimental moments, that in itself is actually quite well suited to social media, right? It's not like just sort of pushing buy something, right? It's showing something significant to that star, so it's quite a soft sell and quite sort of natural for something like that to be on social. Stars also, I believe they need to do a minimum of like 1 social post a month about something exclusive that they're doing in their private Discord, right? There needs to be that value there. There needs to be that FOMO that people that are following them publicly go, man, I wish I was in there to see that, to be part of that moment, right? You've got to constantly sort of remind them on what they're missing out on. And of course, we need to stipulate that the stars themselves must be active participants in their Discord community. They are the center of that universe. They are the sun that all the planets revolve around. Like, they need to be there and put on a show, so to speak, and to just be active, to be natural, to be part of it, to enjoy being there as part of that community with their fans. And if for whatever reason, if they weren't, it needs to be clear that that's a requirement. It should go without saying, but it's important to have that in there. Now, like this consistent promotion from the stars themselves, that will lead to like a consistent acceleration of Fyooz's growth. It's like influencer marketing, right? You multiply it out by all of the reach of these people with massive networks. It would just propel the growth of Fyooz massively. Now, when it comes to the Fyooz tiers, it has like the levels of 1 through to 100,000, and that's because you've got the bronze, silver, gold. Then you've got the club, the jury, and the Hall of Fame, which are used for the governance. That shouldn't change, but I feel like the biggest change that would happen, right, is that as more stars joined Fyooz, joined this idea of this social network for superfans, and they're launching their own Discords, Fyooz, like the FYZ token itself, Fyooz and its Discord becomes this hub for special events, and therefore access to all of the stars in some form, right? If a new star is coming, into Fyooz and launching, they would want to come into the Fyooz community itself. These are people that are already very used to the whole process of buying the star tokens and understand how it all operates, so they're the perfect people to offer a new offering to of a new star doing something. So then that would come into the Fyooz community. You could have collaborations between multiple stars coming in there and doing interesting things, right? There becomes this buzz and this sort of just this ultimate sort of community space for all of these fascinating and big names in sports and media and all kinds of things, right? Fyooz becomes that hub. All right, so moving on from that now onto the onboarding stickiness, which was one of the things that I called out in the sort of the problems for the project. Number one, right, they have to get people's email addresses. It is so important to be able to communicate directly with people. Also in the onboarding process, to use the law of reciprocity, where like if you give something to somebody, they feel indebted to you, like they owe you something, they're willing to do something for you because you've done something for them and they didn't expect that necessarily. So they want to do right by you because you've done something cool for them. And around that, I think having like doing something unique around giving holders, it might depend on what level they're at, but giving them a one-of-one personalized NFT. And even more triple bonus points, right? If you can make that thing that you give them something that they want to use in their social media, like their social media profile. You see this a lot with people like that do charitable causes and other things, right? People put this badge and this branding on their profile in support of the thing that they're really interested in right now, or that they're supporting. You can see it in the crypto space with people doing all the laser eyes on social media, right? It builds this very organic sort of word of mouth and interest. Now, and you also see it with like CryptoPunks, where people are putting that as their avatar. It's something that you could certainly leverage, right? And me myself, right? When I started posting things on Twitter about Fyooz and the Moon Club, some NFT artist who's doing this collection called Boppers, he looked at my profile and he created this sweet little NFT for me, right? That incorporated those things and was uniquely for me. And because of that, like, I felt super special. I felt connected to him. I retweeted it. I reached out to him. And I went very close to buying it until I saw, unfortunately, the gas fees, and I was like, oof, they were like double the price of actually buying it, and that unfortunately turned me off. But like, I still really want that, I want that NFT, and yeah, right. If we could do something along those lines for the people coming into this community, I think it would go a long way to their onboarding stickiness, which means like less likely to churn, less likely to leave, more likely to be an advocate and to rally around the project and to bring more people into the project. Also with the onboarding process, right? Using ethical bribes, things like a t-shirt, or even better, like an autographed t-shirt, as an incentive for them to complete like key retention activities, getting them to do things that leads to people sticking with the project and becoming advocates for the project. So these would be things like watching explainer videos as they get onboarded, so they actually just understand everything that's going on, for them doing certain things to set up their account, buying a star token, right? Claiming their personalized NFT, sharing the project on social. These kinds of things, or doing a combination of them, could unlock receiving that bribe, that benefit, that free swag kind of thing. All right, outside of onboarding, exchanges. So while we've talked about like making a much easier and straightforward way for like the mass market to get into Fyooz, definitely can't ignore the other side, right? Which is people that are into crypto, that do look to projects that are on a growth trajectory, and they want to trade on them and speculate on them, and watch the price action. Getting into exchanges is super important. And in terms of the top 10 exchanges, like, these are the 4 that have the highest volume of coins in them. They're the most supportive and welcoming to altcoins. From Gate is lowest down on that top 10. KuCoin, one of my favorites, honestly. Yeah, and then up to Binance, right? And getting onto Binance is not as simple as people think. Like, it comes with a huge amount of sort of financials behind that. I believe it's like in the millions to actually get listed. But build our way up this ladder of exchanges, so we can reach far more people, again making it a lot easier for them to get in, to avoid things like the gas fees on Uniswap, yeah, and just to get into this project with far less friction. Also around that, in March of this year, the 0x protocol, its API, which I believe, from what I've seen, is the underpinnings of the Fyooz marketplace. That protocol now supports the Binance Smart Chain, and I'm not exactly sure on all the technicalities of how what that means exactly, but I believe it's an opportunity where we could get the star tokens, potentially Fyooz and FYZNFT. We could get them into Binance Smart Chain, projects and dexes like Pancake Swap, which is huge, has massive volume on it, has even sort of flipped Uniswap, right? And the costs are particularly low for the fees for doing transactions there. There's a whole ecosystem over there that we're missing out on, and it would be amazing to be able to leverage that ecosystem as well as the whole Ethereum and Uniswap ecosystem as well. I think it'd be pretty cool. So finally, the roadmap. So it's really important for crypto projects to have a roadmap. For one, right, all of the achievements to get Fyooz to where it is today, and Fyooz's story, for people to understand that it goes back longer than something that's just been launched last month kind of thing. With a lot of projects, that's all they have behind them, right? Fyooz has put in lots of hard yards to get to where they are today. And that needs to be acknowledged in the roadmap to see what's been achieved, as well, obviously, what the next 4 quarters holds for the project, to map that out. Right, and the roadmap, it doesn't need to name names of celebrities, we know we're going to get this person, and then that falls through. Right, by even doing that thing earlier where we've pre-listed all of the people that we're going after, all the superstars that we want on the platform. We've made it very transparent who we're looking to get, and the voting, for example, makes it very clear who we think we can get, or who the community's sort of demand is for. So you don't need to name names for people that are coming up, but you definitely need to show that future vision, and to understand, right, as much as people don't like roadmaps to change, but people accept that things will change as the project adapts, and that's going to be okay. Don't be afraid to make clear where we're going, because people need to know that. And in the absence of anything right now that we have, potentially, right, this Fyooz 3.0 proposal, it could be a good place to start. All right. That is it for the whole presentation. It's quite long. I really appreciate everybody for that has stuck through this entire thing. I've put a lot of work into this. Obviously, it's been burning in the back of my mind as I wake up and think about it, and jot down notes in my phone every day in my lunch break and whatever else, right? I've been sort of sitting on all these ideas, and so I really appreciate you taking the time, right, to listen to me sort of put this out there into the Fyooz community, and see what comes of it, right, to spark more discussion and creative ideas, and see what the core team picks up and runs with, right? What they believe meshes with their vision of where they want to take the project, looking at opportunities to pivot, or change direction where it makes sense, or just stick to their guns because they feel like the path that they've got mapped out is what they believe is best for the project. We'll see what comes of it. So yeah, in summary, right, so this is my Fyooz 3.0, where I see a vision for Fyooz to be positioned in people's minds in the market as the social network for superfans. We would start in terms of changes with having the market be stacked full of superstars. We're gonna make it the exclusive community for 1 million plus follower sort of celebrities, which would require removing the creators with less than 1 million followers, which would leave us with an empty marketplace and But instead of having an empty marketplace, right, we would pre-fill the marketplace with all of these superstars that are out there already. So you came in there and it's just like, oh my God, everybody is here. And then you realize, everyone's not on the platform, but you have a mechanism for then voting and tweeting and staking potentially, right, for those stars to say like, come over here. We want to have that closer connection with you. Check out this project. Every sort of star token to have that 1 million max supply, but to be launching just with the 100k circulating supply, to have that scarcity, to still have a really good model for like pre-sales to all those loyal people that have been here with the project for a long time. The stars themselves to continue holding to that 900k of their token, but the jury to put that level of trust and protection for the holders by having them, through the governance to vote on 10k unlocks, to build a level system that starts at the absolute lowest that you can possibly have of holding just one token, and moving people up through this value ladder from 1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000 and more. And to onboard people through a sales funnel process that the team has the control over and can figure out the ways to tweak it, to optimize it, leveraging the existing credit card transaction functionality, having an email capture as part of the sale, and then follow-up automation that really sort of brings people into this project and their belief in it and their sort of wanting to see it succeed. And the stars, having a private Discord community that sort of decentralizes them from all of those massive, social networks and makes something more intimate, closer to their fans. For Fyooz as a company to hire professionals in the community sort of community space, such as FeverBee, so that they have that reputation backing them up, that the stars can trust that their community is in good hands. To say goodbye to Telegram as a platform that's sort of like spreading out the community at the moment in Fyooz, and to sort of bring us all together on Discord, but still keeping one Telegram channel to sort of have as that foot in the door for people that are just more familiar with Telegram, but get them over onto Discord and make use of all of the functionality and features that come with Discord. Monthly star NFT drops. There are these significant moments for those stars from their career and their life, things that mean something to them, that mean something to the fans. The Moon Club to have the ability to like an NFT, Fyooz NFT holders to win star NFTs, and the Moon Club exclusively to have the chance to get those one-of-ones that come out every month for every star. To have NFTs, increasing their value through as many mechanisms as we can possibly do, from the stars promoting them themselves to having the ability to sort of have combinations of cards, and NFTs, that then unlocks additional benefits, right? This collectability factor to it. The stars to have their contracts be very specific around what Fyooz expects from them, and that this is the same across all stars. There's no special conditions for anybody. Everyone has to play by similar rules for the benefit of everybody in the network. Things such as them actively promoting the NFT drops every month, something exclusive happening in their community to build up that FOMO and drive more people to be brought into this space. The Fyooz community itself becoming this like awesome hub that connects all of these stars together, and the sort of potential that could unlock for doing some really sweet collaborations and things unique just in that Fyooz community. Using onboarding bribes, right, to get people to take the actions that you want them to take, so they become raving fans of the project. Going as far as things like a personalized NFT, where they just feel like, wow, you've given me something so awesome. I want to share that with other people. I want to put it up as my avatar because it's so unique. I've never had anybody make an NFT for me. That kind of thing that just really goes that step beyond what other projects do. and to get ourselves on the exchanges that we need for people that want to invest in Fyooz and its growth potential, and to also look at this potential opportunity around the 0x protocol and the Binance Smart Chain and what that could mean for the project, and potentially like lowering fees. It could be potentially something really good for the the marketplace as a whole, to potentially reduce any costs there, but mainly for us to be able to reach out to that other side of the fence, away from Ethereum, like keeping the Ethereum obviously, but that other side, right, the whole Binance community is massive, and we want to take advantage of that and bring them into our space. And finally, like the roadmap for Fyooz to celebrate what they've done to get to where they are today, and to also paint this picture of where we're going, to show where the ship is sailing, and take us to the moon, right? And look, that's it. Thank you again so much. Jump over to the Fyooz Labs on Discord. Hit me up, hit up other members in the community, ask us questions, share more ideas. And let's do what we can to make Fyooz the social network for superfans. Thank you.